Now we know who the final 8 are, the Elite 8 in the NFL playoffs. We know who's in. The question, if you were the head coach of just an amorphous football team, just a team in the playoffs, who would you most like to be matched up against? Who, in your mind, is the easiest out left in these 2025-26 NFL playoffs? That's what we're going to get started with on the show today. It's Wire to Wire. He's Cole Bryson on location at Burns High School, right? They're going to be taking on Dorman tonight in what you call the biggest basketball game in the state.
It is, Diesel. It's a big one, man. It's so good to be with you, as always. You're anchoring it back in the Ingles Market Studios, and you are black, like not your color, but your screen on the stream, just FYI. So I don't know if it's not liking your image on the stream, but we are live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. And, yes, I am live on location today at Burns High School. A big one tonight between Dorman and Burns. So excited to be with you. And it's going to be a lot of fun tonight at 7 o'clock. Two teams who have not lost in region play, both 13-3. Should be a lot of fun. Again, airtime 7 o'clock. And excited to have the call for that one. It's a big, big game. Expect a couple of thousand people here tonight in Duncan. But, yeah, a big NFL day, right?
Yeah,
Mike Tomlin?
It is. Didn't see that one coming. Ooh. You know, that wasn't on the bingo card for starting the day, though it's not entirely surprising. I mean, I was set up to have that conversation later on in the show. If you were the GM of the Pittsburgh Steelers, would you make the move? Would you essentially invite him to step down and leave? And, we'll get the details of this thing as it moves along, Cole, and find out exactly what happened. Whose decision was it? Was it mutual for real, or was it mutual in the sense that they told him, hey, we're going to fire you if you don't step down? So if you want to save some face, you might as well go ahead and do that. We'll get that information as the days move along, Cole, but didn't really know that Mike Tomlin was going to be unemployed today at 2:01 p.m., but that's the way that it goes.
And you know what? It's interesting. You had this first segment lined up to talk about NFL easiest out. I had a segment later in the show and still do lined up to talk about the current head coaching vacancies in the NFL. And when you add Mike Tomlin's name to the list and the Pittsburgh Steelers to the list, it makes things interesting because Tomlin's one of the most well-respected coaches in the NFL, Diesel. However, they just have not gotten it done in Pittsburgh. I know they've been consistent. I know that they've, made the playoffs on some crazy streak now, but making the playoffs isn't what you play for, right? And they haven't been able to get past the playoffs. So it's huge.
You know, the Steelers are one of the quintessential blue bloods of the NFL. I heard the show that was on prior to us, Cole. They talked about franchises that matter to the NFL. That or franchises like that, and it's amazing that a franchise like this that has so much storied success, in my mind, let Mike Tomlin go as long as they did. I mean, there's value to never having losing seasons. There's value to making the playoffs as much as he did, but when you look at the performance in the playoffs, it's just not there for Mike Tomlin.
No.
And I don't know what it is. He's had plenty of time to cycle offensive and defensive coordinators in and out. He's had multiple GMs during his tenure. I don't know if they're not giving him everything he needs, but I can't imagine a world in which the Pittsburgh Steelers are a poverty program, not giving him what he needs.
Well, to your point, he's been there so long, right? At some point, he's had it. He had Ben Roethlisberger after Big Ben at quarterback. Life hadn't been great, but no, you're right. The goal is to make runs. The goal is to be playing for a Super Bowl or at least have a chance to win a Super Bowl. And the longevity of his career, I think, Diesel, they were stuck in a really difficult spot. I do. I think Pittsburgh was stuck in an incredibly difficult spot because I think everybody respects the heck out of Mike Tomlin, but they just weren't getting it done. Sometimes it's good for a change, just to have a change of scenery, to see what life's like on the other side of things. He's still a good coach. Nobody questions that. Maybe he's meant for TV. I don't know, but obviously huge news today.
Yeah, coming up at 5:20, Cole, you've got this segment already prepped. Who are we hearing is in the mix for some of the biggest jobs, for the available jobs in the NFL? And now we're going to have to add the Steelers onto this at some point. Again, it's still so fresh and so new that there's no rumors as to who might take over.
No doubt.
Yeah, no, nothing with any legitimacy. Yeah, so there's a lot of conjecture, but that's going to be automatically one of the best jobs in the NFL this offseason, Cole. But again, we're down to 8 teams. Ooh. Here's the matchups we have starting on Saturday at 4:30. 2 games on Saturday, 2 games on Sunday, and then they'll make way for the national championship Monday night, as you and I will not be here because it's Martin Luther King Jr. Day. But on Saturday, 4:30, Broncos, Bills, and then at 8 o'clock, Seahawks, 49ers. On Sunday, in the 3 o'clock slot, we'll have Patriots, Texans, and at 6:30, Bears, Rams. I want to hear from you, Cole, and I want to hear from Tolos as well. If you were coaching in this playoff, who would you most want to be matched up against? Who do you feel is the easiest out? And that's not an easy question to answer because at this point, everybody's good. Even if some teams are a little more offensively deficient or some teams are a little more defensively deficient, these are all really good teams, and they're all here for a reason.
No, you're right. It's an incredibly difficult question to answer, but I like it. I like it a lot because it makes me think, the easiest out in the NFL. So of the 8 teams remaining, rather. Yep. So when you look at these 8 teams, let's just go game by game here.
Sure.
I mean, this is incredibly difficult, but if you start with Saturday at, what'd you say, 4:30 is the first game. Okay, Broncos, Bills. Do you believe that Denver's maybe the easiest out with right now? I mean, a guy in Sean Payton, who's, again, one of the best coaches and has had an incredible tenure, Super Bowl champion, right, in the National Football League. Or on the other side, do you believe it's Josh Allen? I know this sounds crazy, but I'm going to go game by game here, and you tell me what you think. I think of the two, the easier out, I know this sounds crazy, I think the easier out's Buffalo of the 2.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, Buffalo's got to go on the road.
They do.
Right? So they got to play in Denver.
It's mile high. Let me give you a wild stat. This is a wild stat. You're not gonna believe this, and Tolos are probably gonna fact check me because they don't believe me. Sunday, Diesel, last Sunday when Josh Allen defeated the Jacksonville Jaguars, do you know that was Josh Allen's first ever road playoff win?
No.
Yes.
That's one of those stats that doesn't sound realistic.
No, it was his first ever road playoff win. So now you're telling me a quarterback who's only won 1 has to go win 2 at Mile High against Sean Payton? Or do you think that night game, Seattle-San Francisco, I'm not going to even touch this one? No, there's not an easy out in this one, Diesel. Seattle's like amazing.
Yeah.
And then San Francisco's got Kyle Shanahan. And then on Sunday, Mike Vrabel and Drake May looked like the best team in all of the NFL. And then the Houston Texans defense, they showed us last night that they're the best defense in the league. And then Chicago, okay, first-year head coach, first-year quarterback. The Rams, Matthew Stafford, seasoned quarterback. Here's where I land. To answer your question, I'm going to land on 2. It's either going to come down the easiest out in the NFL, down to 8 teams now, Diesel. I am going to choose between Buffalo and Chicago. I know that sounds wild, but that's where I am. Those are the 2 that I have.
This is a hard question, and it's a fun question for that reason. The Broncos are just really, really good on defense. They're like 1A, 1B there with the Texans. The Texans don't quite have the offense. The Broncos, to me, have a better offense than the Texans do. So if I'm looking on the left side of this bracket, and I'm looking at it visually a little different from you are, I'm seeing, man, of those 4 teams on the left side of the bracket, the Broncos, Bills, Patriots, Texans, who do I think is the easiest out of those 4? God, I mean, if you can get up any points against the Texans, they're not giving up a whole lot.
No, they're not.
Buffalo, they needed some late game heroics from Josh Allen. And isn't it weird to say that Buffalo is the quote unquote worst team
I know
on this
Trust
side?
me,
They are the
weird.
6th seed. I mean, the biggest number next to their name should mean they're theoretically, hypothetically, the worst team on this side of the bracket.
Right.
Oh man,
See, Dan B says Denver. You just mentioned Denver. Dan B says Denver. And I understand why, because Denver's kind of flown under the radar a little bit this year, Diesel. They're not
Bo Nix is good, but not great.
That's right. They're not sexy.
No.
They're the pretty girl, but they're not like entirely just blowing your socks off. Here's where I am on Denver, though. And I'm glad DB brought it up. I understand that Denver may not be the best team in the playoffs, but I do respect the heck out of that guy who's wearing the headset. I just, there's just something to me, and I know a lot of people give him criticism for only winning one championship, but to me, there's just something about that Sean Payton man that it strikes fear into me, Diesel.
Well, but here's the problem: is Denver's playing this game at home,
right?
And they have been very, very good at home this year. Let's see, have they lost any home games? They've lost one home game, and that was to the Jaguars back on. Let's see let's find the date.
They
on
smoked
that game.
them, didn't they? Or am I thinking
34-20? It was a 2-touchdown game, 2-touchdown home loss. That was back on December 21st,
Gotcha.
by the way. A game in which the Broncos outgained them in total yards, but they turned the ball over a lot. They turned the ball over twice in that game. I mean, the Broncos were the better team in that football game, but it's in the NFL. If you make turnovers, they will make you pay for it. But the Broncos don't turn the ball over very often. That was their only home loss all season long. They may not be the sexiest team. They may not be the team that blows the doors off, but they don't lose at home.
Yeah. And that's a tough place to go win. It is. And I know they don't have the snowy elements, and I don't know what the weather is going to be on Sunday, but that's a tough place to go. I look at Sean Payton as one of the best coaches in all of football, and a lot of people, Diesel, said, well, when he goes to Denver, that's a tough place to turn around up there. Denver hadn't really been – he's done it. He's done it. And I'll even go a step further and say I think he's done it, Diesel, with above-average quarterback. I don't think Bo Nix is what the Patriots have. I don't think Bo Nix is what the Jaguars have at quarterback.
Drake May is definitely ahead of Bo Nix at this point. They're both young quarterbacks, but Drake, man, his development has been fast-tracked.
It's been fast. But again, though, Diesel, it matters when a good quarterback, even though he may not be great, it matters when he's paired with a guy who's as good of a quarterback whisperer as Sean Payton is. And I just think the world of Sean Payton. He may go out there on Sunday and lay an egg and make me look like a fool, but it's going to come down to Buffalo. And I'll tell you this, I'm leaning Buffalo more than I am Chicago, because you and I have talked about it. I've just been so impressed with what Chicago's done this year. Caleb Williams, man, he's impressed me.
So Scott on the stream says he's lived in New England for 26 years, Patriots fan. Patriots is the answer. How do you say the Patriots are the answer after you just watched what they did to Madcraft's Chargers? Held them to 3 points in that ball game, and they were dominant in that game. It wasn't a phenomenal offensive performance, but I think they've been good enough on offense all year long to let their defense shut the other team down just enough.
And see that they scare the living bejeebies out of me, man. You know what I mean? Like they're not just beating teams, Diesel. They're whooping teams.
Is that a metric measurement or a standard empirical measurement?
Both.
Okay.
You use both. It's undefeated. It's undefeated, by the way. I'm telling you, the Patriots are a good team. I think the Patriots would actually be the opposite and say, like, they're one of the teams that scared me the most of all these teams remaining. And I could very well see New England winning it this year. You've got a lot of guys who are younger on these, cheaper deals. Diesel, I put air quotes around cheaper, right? And, man, you've seen teams use that formula to be successful in years past, and I think New England's using it. I am going to settle, though. I'm going to settle on Buffalo. I'm going to give you Buffalo as my answer. And Buffalo, they're going, to your point, they're going on the road. They were on the road last week. And I just think, this is a good Buffalo team. I don't think it's a great team. They're 28th they're scoring 28.3 points per game. But Diesel, defensively, they're 12th in the NFL, right? So they're, in terms of points allowed, 365 total yards. They're giving up 216 yards in the air per game, which is around middle of the league. They are really good against the run, but I just don't think their defensive rankings are great. I don't think their passing efficiency is great. I don't think Josh Allen was great through the air on Sunday against Jacksonville, but guess what he did? He had 2 rushing touchdowns, and those 2 rushing touchdowns were the difference maker. That was why they won that game. So I know that sounds just wild to say a Josh Allen-led team is the easiest out, because I love Josh Allen, and he's just that dude. But I think of the 8, and Chef said it on the YouTube stream, some hero ball. Some hero ball. By the way, good to see Wesley. A lot of interaction on the stream right now. DB, Scott, Wesley, Chef. I know that Josh Allen at any point in any game can just put that Superman cape on and go win it. But I'm gonna go with the Bills.
But what does your heart tell you about San Francisco now without George Kittle? Brock Purdy loses a weapon.
Yeah.
Christian McCaffrey is a jack of all trades, and he's really, really good, but he can't play tight end too.
No, it's a good point. I think that's a huge loss. I really do. For them to win that game against Philadelphia, it's big. George Kittle is one of the best in the NFL, Diesel. So there's no doubt. Like, that's a tough loss. They're going against Seattle. Here's where I am on that. And maybe you are convincing me to lean San Francisco. I don't think San Francisco was going to beat Seattle with George Kittle. I just remember, and we do this, especially in sports, we allow recent memory to kind of dictate our thoughts, right? It was 2 or 3 weeks ago on a Saturday night, I watched Seattle hold San Francisco down to 3 points. 3 points. Diesel, San Francisco couldn't even threaten with George Kittle. So I would still pick Seattle to beat San Francisco with or without George Kittle. Okay. But no, you're right. That guy being out, I'm with you. If you said San Francisco, if you asked me which of the 4 games I feel most safe about picking the winner, I'd say Seattle for sure. So you are swaying me a little bit.
So you're going either the Bears, or was it the Bears
Bills.
or the Broncos?
Bills.
Bears
I'm going Bills, though. I'm going to stay with Bills.
Okay. I like your pick with the Bills. With the Bears, because I just they've shown their propensity to get down in a hole. Now, obviously, they can dig out of that hole very quickly.
Yeah,
I could certainly see the Rams kind of putting it on them early, and maybe the Bears not having enough time or enough juice to come back in that game. So I'm torn between the Bears and the 49ers, because the 49ers are just not explosive on offense. No. They're decent on defense. I mean, they're a 6 seed. They're one of the lower seeds in this thing. I'm going either Bears or 49ers, but I think Caleb Williams – there's just something special there this season, and maybe a little team of destiny going on there. That's one of those intangibles that you can't really quantify, but you can quantify losing a guy like George Kittle. And even if he's not putting up numbers, even if he's not putting up yards and touchdowns, he's got a lot of leadership on that team, and the team respects him on that field. So I'm going to say, for me, it's the San Francisco 49ers.
I like that.
Easiest out in these playoffs.
I like that a lot. Scott says that the Patriots have a huge edge. It's actually special teams with Marcus Jones. JB says, crazy that Tomlin's out. They've had 3 coaches since 1969, which is wild. JB says Super Bowl will be Buffalo versus Seattle. JB, I don't see Buffalo getting there. I think Seattle gets there. I think it's New England and Seattle in the Super Bowl, going back to old times with Russell Wilson and Tom Brady. Diesel Scott says, sorry, my actual choice is Chicago.
Oh, okay.
Only New England is an AFC option.
Good choice.
And I think Chicago's a good choice, like you said, because, do we trust a first-year head coach and a first-year quarterback? Maybe they do. Maybe they go on a run and surprise us all and bring Chicago back, right? Maybe this is the year where teams are back. Miami's supposedly back, and now Chicago's back. It's been so long. But, it's interesting. These NFL playoffs, these 8 teams remaining, Diesel, I think there's – by the way, look down at that rundown. Where's Kansas City, right? Where's the Ravens, right?
Watching on TV.
That's what I'm saying. So there's there's newness. The Patriots are back. The Houston Texans and the Elite Eight, if you will. The Bears, the Broncos as the 1 seed. It feels like it's been, 3 weeks since the Broncos have played a football game, a meaningful football game. But it's going to be a lot of fun. It really is. And then that Mike Tomlin news is just crazy.
That doesn't seem to affect teams in the NFL the same way it does in college. Isn't it interesting how bye weeks really, really hurt teams in college football, but they're the best thing ever for pro teams?
Well, you've got to hold it the 1 week. This whole college thing, and Joey McGuire talked about it in this audio that we're going to get to in the next segment. Like 1 week's okay having a bye, and even at the high school level, like I still think sometimes it can be good, sometimes it can be bad. Sometimes you're playing your best football at the end of the year, and football is different in basketball. But Diesel, in baseball, I mean, how many times have you talked about? We've talked about it on this show with the Major League Baseball division winner getting all these days off and then coming back and not looking like the same team. The Braves, unfortunately, know what that feels like. So it'll be interesting to see. JB says, I disagree. If it's not Buffalo, it'll be the Texans. So JB not showing New England love there.
Without much of a quarterback, C.J. Stroud has not been rookie C.J. Stroud this season. With rookie C.J. Stroud, 1,000%.
They've ridden
I'd put him there as a favorite to make the Super Bowl.
They have rode that defense. That defense has just been so good. It's an elite defense. I told a buddy of mine yesterday that spread last night, Houston favored by 3 points. That was the easiest pick ever. And they covered, by many more than 3. But they're a really good defense. Speaking of Joey McGuire, Diesel, is he on to something? I want to get your reaction and the reaction of our Tolos pertaining to college football bowl games. It's something that we've talked about. It's a conversation we've had multiple times. Does Joey McGuire have the answer on how to save bowl games? That's next, right here on the Fan Upstate. What would be the fix to save bowl games? You and I, Diesel, have had this conversation many, many times. It's been talked about from a local level to a national level, worldwide. They're talking about it in Egypt, I believe. Everybody's talking about how to save bowl games, right? And you and I have basically come to the agreement that we wouldn't be surprised that in the next few years, bowl games could be dead, right? They could be pretty much vanished.
I agree.
Do you, Diesel, know what the and I mean the with a capital THE, the way to save bowl games is? From Joey McGuire. Have you heard this yet?
I have not. Joey McGuire, he's always got some good ideas, though. I'm excited to hear it.
I like Joey. So This is Joey McGuire, Texas Tech. How do we save bowl games? I'm going to play this in just a few minutes here, in just a few seconds, rather. And Joey McGuire, again, a coach that was in the college football playoff, right? Very well respected. I heard this audio this morning for the first time. And when I heard the audio, my immediate reaction was, yeah, not really a big fan. However, I guess I'm warming up to it. And I'm going to see if this audio will play from my laptop as I am on location, as McGuire said earlier today. All right, let's try that again. All right, I've got it. Let's start it over. Joey McGuire says the fix is if you win 6 games or whatever it is that you have to do to qualify, have a pulse nowadays, and you're in a bowl game. The bowl game will be played week 1 of the following season, and there is your fix. You heard Joey McGuire talk about it. Your thoughts?
Oh God, why do people keep bringing this up? I mean.
You don't like it?
The team that will be playing next year to start the season is not going to be the same team that, quote unquote, earned their way to a bowl game. So is this now going to be week 1 of the season? Are we adding another week to the season, Cole? Because, all these teams, the schedule is 12 games. All these big conferences, they've gone to 9 conference games. So now are we going to add basically a 13th game where it's an optional non-conference 13th game for teams that won more than 6 games last year but didn't make the college football playoff? Oh, and all the seniors on that team are gone. Half the players may be
the
coaches may be gone. The other half of the team is in the transfer portal. Guys that were playing at Division II Ferris State last year will be supposedly representing the team that played a year prior. That doesn't make any sense. That's an idiotic idea.
So you do not like it. Okay.
No.
All right. Here's where I am. I don't love it. I think I do. I'm torn, Diesel. I don't absolutely hate it, but here's why I'm torn. I'm torn because I used to love bowl season, right? And I wish, Diesel, you wish one day we could rub our hands together and whew, we've got the perfect bowl season back. The reality is that's never gonna happen. It's gone. It's not coming back. So how do we find a happy medium? Would we rather do what Joey McGuire says and play him week 1 of the next year, or do we just cancel them altogether?
Well, as we're going to get into later on in the show, let me see what time slot we have this thing scheduled to come up in. It's the 5 o'clock segment. We're going to dive deep into this thing. Mm-hmm. Heather Dennis reported this a few days ago on ESPN.
Yeah,
where Greg Sankey and Tony Petitti are already in cahoots trying to figure out exactly how we're going to expand the playoffs. So it's coming.
Yeah.
It's going to happen. It's going to be 16, and very soon after that, it's going to be 24. If Cole, when that becomes a reality, just stop playing bowl games entirely. Just stop. Just don't do them. If you don't make the playoff, if you're not a top 16 or if you're not a top 24, your season's done. No more. You're done.
Yeah.
Okay. And I say that because that feels like the reality. Like there's what's the old saying? Wish in one hand and crap in the other one, and see which one fills up first. The wish to go back to the old way is not going to happen. The only reason bowls would ever be exciting again is if we shrunk the playoff back to 4 or to 8. And we know that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Right? We know that's not going to happen. And if you added some sort of, whether it be a contract that makes these guys play in these games, you would have to have an employment contract and a complete overhaul of the calendar so that, we haven't entered the transfer portal era or coaches leaving teams yet. There's a lot of change that would have to happen to make that viable again. And I genuinely don't believe we're going in that direction. It is a pipe dream. It's not going to happen. So I like to work in how do we make the best of the situation we have or that we're going to have, not what we wish would happen. So if we go to 16, if we go to 24, bowl season's dead. Now, if you still want to call them bowls, fine. If you want to have ReliaQuest come in and put up banners all over Clemson's football stadium because they are the hosts of the ReliaQuest Bowl this year, fine, do that. I don't care. You can put up whatever banners all over my stadium you want to and pay me money and give me sponsorship dollars. Call it a bowl game. That's fine.
And Diesel, there kind of are some bowl games already in week 1. They're not called bowl games, but like the Chick-fil-A kickoff, for example, right? Like
it's still week 1 for those teams.
It's still week 1, but it's kind of a hybrid between week 1 and a bowl game in the sense of like, we've got this nice sponsor. Everybody's getting Chick-fil-A gift cards. We're playing in Atlanta, whatever. Like you went down there a couple of years ago to the Clemson game against Georgia in Atlanta, right?
Hey, why do you have to bring that up? I didn't successfully go to that game.
I didn't bring anything up about
But I did successfully make it this past year with Virginia Tech.
I wasn't going to bring up the parking garage. I wasn't going to bring it up. You brought it up. All I'm saying is yes, bowls are dead. But I also, I guess I would be okay in the sense of if we have to find a way to keep the money flowing, why not, to kind of go to Joey McGuire's point there, why not just make week 1 an opportunity, and maybe don't call them bowl games. Maybe you call them kickoffs or whatever the heck you want to call them. Maybe that week 1's an opportunity where we can play these. But here's the caveat. I am with you on it couldn't – I don't like the next year's game being determined by something the previous team did the year before. So I don't like Clemson and LSU playing each other because Clemson won 6 games a year prior because you're right. It's a different roster. It's a different coaching staff, right? So I'm with you there. It should not be merit-based.
I will say this, Cole. I am good with some external body, not related to either school, deciding who you play in week 1.
Yeah.
I like the idea of a flexible scheduling model that allows for a good-on-good matchup to happen, for an in-state matchup that, for whatever reason, these two schools would never come to an agreement. I remember there was at one point, Cole, that East Carolina University had to get a state law passed to get NC State to play them. You know how close those two schools are? Yeah. There's 2 hours between them, and NC State would not play them. So East Carolina had to go the legal route. Nobody wants to see that. These are two fan bases that will pack out a football stadium if you put them on the same field together. So, I mean, that's what I wish bowl season in postseason bowls would do. Like, get rid of these weird, like the third place ACC team plays the fifth place Big Ten team. No, give me two schools that hate each other that otherwise wouldn't schedule each other, make them play each other, and that's your bowl game. You'd sell a heck of a lot more tickets doing it that way. So if you want to use, somebody in a scheduling office saying, hey, wouldn't it be awesome if we could get Georgia to play whoever, like that they wouldn't normally play? We want to get Georgia to play Florida State.
Yeah.
They're not scheduled to play each other in the next 5 years. So let's make them play.
Do it in week 1. I'm fine with that.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
I'm down
good with that. Let's do that. So here's where we are. Here's where we land. We're going to end this segment by saying we've taken what Nick Saban said. We've taken what Joey McGuire said. Diesel and I are going to lay it all out there for you. If you bring us, and you don't even have to pay us like millions, we'll do it for a little bit less.
Chick-fil-A gift cards. You brought it up. I like those.
I like Chick-fil-A gift cards too.
They're not a sponsor, but they should be.
They should be.
Let's talk to Gary Stoken about that.
Gary's retired now.
Well, he was on site. I sent you that picture the other day.
He was up there bigwigging.
Yeah, the interview with Dan Lanning and Kurt Signetti and Gary, retired Gary Stoken was up there shaking hands with Dan Lanning. He ain't retired.
You're right. That's true. So here we are. Saban said it. McGuire said it. We're putting it all together, and we're moving the schedule just like the NFL, where you're not going to have as early as a window with college athletics as you do now. But just like the NFL, when March, April rolls around, coaches will find new jobs. Things happen then. The schedule is going to be fixed more like an NFL model to where we're not having coaches leave during bowl season, during the playoffs, push it back. With that being said, we have to push the portal open or the portal window back as well, Diesel. The signing day, all of that's pushed back closer to the new year, right? So we're pushing that back. We're pushing the portal, the commitment, all that crap, pushing it into the new year, modeling it more to where, hey, if it does away with spring games, don't care, adios, whatever. And then you first get your team March, April, May. You put them together just like the NFL does, right, with those OTAs, whatever they do in the spring, workouts, lift weights, and then you go into your regular season of training camp and the college season. And if you want to have the kickoffs, you're right, let's call them kickoffs. No bowl games. Happens week 1. Celebrate, Chick-fil-A, throw the piñata, whatever. But then the season continues into the postseason. No bowl games. Bam, we've got it figured out. There's the ultimate fix.
Hey, I like a lot of what you said there. Why not just make these things the spring games? We've talked about, spring games. A lot of teams are wanting to play other teams in their spring games. Say, hey, you get matched up with somebody, you're going to play them in your spring game.
I just don't like – here's where I am. I just want to do away with them altogether. I want to do away with them.
Hey, if we go, like I said, if we go to an expanded playoff, number one, to me, the bowl season, not the bowl season, but the conference championship games need to go.
Yeah.
There's no need, there's no reason for a conference championship game other than putting it on television and making advertising dollars off of it. But otherwise, if we're going to go straight seeding, if we're not going to make conference championship game victories matter, if they don't mean anything, why play the games at all? Get rid of that. Go to 16, go to 24, and then we don't have bowl season at all anymore. If you want to find out who you're going to get matched up with in a spring game, have at it.
No, I'm with you. That's perfect. I forgot to add that to mine. No more conference championships, no bowl games.
They're stupid.
Call them kickoff, celebrate the beginning of the year, whatever. But I'm with you. One more thing. The kickoffs can be, since the commissioner, everybody important's listening, Greg Sankey's listening, right? The kickoffs can be venues, whatever. I don't care about that. But when we eliminate conference championships and expand the playoffs, we're also going to have every game other than the semifinals and national championship played on college campuses. So there's our fix. We have fixed the sport within 43 minutes of the show.
Now we just need to get some really rich dudes who get their feelings hurt really quickly to sign off on it.
That's right.
That should be easy, right?
I like it.
That should be easy. Man. Hey, Cole, we led the show with this. We talked about it briefly, but didn't dive super deep into it. The big breaking news earlier today is that Mike Tomlin, 19 seasons with the Steelers, has officially stepped down. We'll do a little profile, not a post-mortem on Mike, because he's still very much alive, young guy, 53, but sort of a post-mortem on his career next.
Any sports takes at the door. Call in if you're man enough.
844 Phone. This is Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson on the Fan Upstate.
Again, when you don't get it done, words are cheap. It's about what you do or you don't do. And so I appreciate the question, but people talk too much in our business. You either do or you don't.
That was last night after the Steelers took an ugly loss. And Cole, Mike Tomlin this morning has announced that he is no longer going to be the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. He is announcing that he has stepped down as their head football coach after 19 seasons. I mean, I think we all kind of saw it coming, and we all questioned how much longer can this go on before somebody has to do something.
You know what? I said it in the first segment, man. I think Pittsburgh, they would never come out and say this. I think Pittsburgh management and ownership for the past few years have been in an incredibly difficult spot because, like I said, Mike Tomlin's very well respected. He's a good coach. I think 50%, 60%, or 70% of the NFL, maybe I'll land on 65, 65% of the NFL, Diesel, would take him as their coach today.
Sure.
But results matter, right? And that's what we do it for, is the result. And we've been told, like, year after year, Tomlin's got this crazy streak of being above 500 and making the playoffs. That's great if you just want to be above average. But if you want to win championships, something's got to give. So he stepped away. But do we believe he stepped away, Diesel, or do we believe that he was told, hey, we just got to go in a different direction, appreciate everything you've done?
I mean, look at the list of guys that have coached under him. Arthur Smith, Eddie Faulkner, Matt Canada, Randy Fichtner, Todd Haley, Bruce Arians, Dick LeBeau. There's so many big-time guys that have worked under him that have gone on to have varying levels of success, whether at head coaches at different locations. His coaching tree is wide. It is fruitful. Cole, I don't think he's done. I genuinely don't believe that he's done. I would love to see him kind of maybe step back to a coordinator role for a few years and just kind of enjoy himself, right? Sort of rediscover the love.
We'll take him. We'll take him.
We, the Cowboys, or we, the Panthers?
Yes, no, the Cowboys.
No, you can't
I'll take him.
No.
I will take him today as our defensive coordinator.
Vetoed.
No, I want him. Yes, great idea.
Yeah, but Edgar Olivero sucks. We need him in Carolina.
Oh, Mike Tomlin is the DC? Are you kidding?
Yeah.
But what if he said, no, I just want to go work TV and make bucos of money and not have any stress?
Do it. I would be so happy for him to have that. It's a stressful job. It's a stressful job at all 32 of these teams, whether you're winning or you're not. It is if you're not winning, I guess it's not stressful because eventually you're going to be unemployed, but you're also going to be a rich man. Yeah. I just want to see him be happy for a couple of years because, I don't think I've seen him smile in a long time.
No, and you kind of got the sense that things were gonna eventually come to an end for him. Like, you didn't know if it was going to be this year or next year or when, but it's just one of those things where in the NFL it's cutthroat, and the NFL stands for not for long. But Mike Tomlin made it longer than most coaches will ever make it in the NFL, right?
Think about this. We talk about him never having those elite seasons, Cole, but now he is 9th in all-time regular season wins in NFL history.
That's a lot of wins.
He is a top 10 total wins, and he's had very few of those, 12, 13, 14 win seasons. He's also the longest tenured head coach of a singular North American professional sports franchise.
God.
Like, nobody else held their job as a head coach longer than Mike Tomlin in any sport in North America.
That's wild. But when you go back and say, okay, he's been there since 2007 and he's won one Super Bowl. Talking about 20 years now, Diesel. Almost 20 years. Next year will be 20 years. Is Pittsburgh a franchise that will be okay with one Super Bowl every 20 years? I don't think so.
It's also weird to think that Bill Cowher's era ended 19 years ago.
It's crazy.
It feels like it hasn't been that long, but Bill's been on TV for a long time, and Bill looks happy, right? I mean, Imagine putting Bill Belichick on TV. That guy would be all smiles.
Oh, yeah.
So,
all right, Diesel, it is exam time. I hope you are aware. Sometimes in school we hear that and think, crap, was that today? Is that today? Yeah, that's today.
Scared.
Do you happen, I didn't prep you. If not, it's okay. Do you happen to have your Phil Steele magazine?
I do not.
It's okay. I can get it online. Here's what we're going to do. Final exam time, now that the season is pretty much almost over. In the very next segment, we know what Phil Steele told us in terms of the best position groups going into the season. Where do we finish the season? If we have to go to our final exam and grade each position group in college football, who finished we don't care about who started the year. Who finished the year with the best position groups? We'll go position by position next on the Fan Upstate.
from start to finish.
You're going wire to wire
With Diesel and Cole Bryson.
on the Fan Upstate.
Well, it's easy for people, Diesel, to predict who's going to be the best at each position group before the year starts. It's easy. What's difficult is hitting on those predictions, especially in this new modern era of college football. Maybe a guy like Phil Steele, who you and I respect, and we read all the preseason magazines, and will again this year. Maybe a guy like Phil Steele and who's the other big outlet out there, or the big
Lindy's.
Maybe those publications are finding it more and more difficult, Diesel, to actually be right. And at the end of the day, maybe they don't care about being right as long as the publications sell and the checks are still clearing, right? But when you look at this new modern era of college football where you do have all this movement, you have all this player movement, all this coach movement, I definitely believe it's harder and harder each year to predict not only who the national champion is going to be, but who has the best position groups. I'm not calling Phil Steele out by any stretch here. But, Diesel, a lot of these preseason predictions that you and I read through in the Phil Steele magazine about Clemson's offensive line being the strongest offensive line group, Clemson's wide receiver room being the strongest, and all the LSU having the best quarterback group, I don't know if any of them came true.
Well, honestly, I don't know how Phil Steele is going to put together a magazine in the future, right? I mean, you have so little continuity from year to year to year that element of your position by position group, that element is shrinking fast, right? Coaches are changing so rapidly.
Yeah.
That element of it is shrinking fast. Like the knowns are getting smaller,
sure,
and the variables are getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So how do you, and Phil has that, tagline across a lot of different pages that he is the most accurate magazine in preseason predictions. How do you even put that in your magazine anymore? Instead of, why don't you just replace it with the shrug emoji?
I like that. It's a good point because, I think back to the days of Alabama and Notre Dame in the BCS national championship game, right? And when I'm watching that game in Bama, that particular game, I can't remember exactly what year it was, Diesel just blew the doors off of Notre Dame. I'm not saying like it was super, super predictable, but to your point, it was a lot easier to gauge. And for a guy like Phil Steele that does those type of publications, it is easier to know, what to expect because you saw what this group did with that continuity a year ago. That same group's going to be back. And I think, Diesel, too, is to be fair, and why so many people were high on Clemson and Phil Steele in particular, I think that's one of the reasons Phil and others had Clemson's position groups as high as he did because there was continuity. There were a lot of players coming back, right? They had the same puzzle pieces as they did in 2024. Now, those puzzle pieces just didn't pan out in 2025 like a lot of people expected. But I think you bring up an interesting point there. How will this make those publications' job more difficult in terms of getting all this information together? Because Phil probably has a pretty good streamlined process, Diesel, of how he does this, right?
Yeah.
But now with all these portal players, so much change, so much movement, I think you bring up a good point. How long will these kind of preseason publications last?
Yeah, I think it drastically changes how you have to do it. You have to be more of an analytical guy. You have to be, maybe a little more like Kelly Ford, a little less old school prediction kind of guy, right? Like you feel like this unit is gonna do this. You feel like this unit is progressing and this one is regressing. And then you got to sort of figure out algorithms that say, all right, if we plug in this guy from that school with these stats into this roster with that coach against this schedule, here's what our model predicts is going to happen, right? There is a lot of data. And that's not to say that Phil doesn't have a tremendous amount, and he does. But you're now going to have that data kind of playing off each other sort of in a whole bunch of if-then scenarios, and I don't envy that at all.
And you know what's interesting about what you just brought up with the data? Like, yes, data is data, and you can go off of previous year's data, but you know what you can't do, Diesel? You can't predict how that data is going to play out in the new system. You can't predict how that data is going to translate to a new team. You just can't. Like, there's no formula for it. You know what I mean? You
Right.
can't predict how, if you produce these numbers at this team, you put them in this new system, in this new conference, in this new team, with this new head coach, and this new OC, and this new quarterbacks coach. You have no idea. So the data almost becomes watered down in a way.
Yeah,
So
and
I think it's incredibly difficult.
how do you factor in whether you're happy or not being where you are, right?
Yeah.
Are you happy with the money that you're getting? Is that affecting the way that you play?
Yeah.
I mean, if there's guys that you see who are transferring out of Power 4 schools and they're choosing G5 schools because they couldn't get on at another Power 4 school. Does that mean they're going to be hungry to impress at their new school, or does that mean they're going to be bitter and unhappy with where they are, and that's going to affect their numbers even more? I mean, there's so many more variables to it.
Before we get into the data itself, speaking of data and what position groups were the best, I want to remind you, Tolos, one of the absolute best college basketball guests, Rocco Miller of Bracketeer.org, will be joining the show in about 12 minutes, and he is our weekly Tuesday guest during basketball season. Rocco's the best. He is literally a wealth of college basketball knowledge. So if you have any friends in your group text who are big college basketball junkies, make sure they're tuned in and you're tuned in at 422. Rocco Miller coming up in just a few minutes on the show. But for example, Diesel, let's go position by position here. Phil Steele did not have Georgia and Oklahoma as the two best special teams rooms in college football. Lou Groza was the best kicker. The Lou Groza Award went to Tate Sandell of Oklahoma, right? He was the best kicker in college football. The Ray Guy Award for the best punter went to Brett Thorson of Georgia. Defensive backs, guess what? Caleb Downs. We all know Caleb Downs going into the season at Ohio State was elite. He won the Jim Thorpe Award for the best defensive back. Also the Lott Impact Trophy. He was a true headliner at Ohio State. But guess what? Wasn't predicted by a lot of these publications preseason. Linebacker was a sneaky defensive group for a lot of teams, including Texas Tech, where Jacob Rodriguez basically owned the award circuit. He got 1, 2, 3, 4, including the Butkus and Lombardi Award. Sports Illustrated listing him as Defensive Player of the Year. Linebacker, Texas Tech, wasn't talked about. It just wasn't. I'm reading the publications preseason. I've got them pulled up. Nobody was talking about the linebacker group, the linebacker room at Texas Tech. Now, here's one that I think a lot of these guys were right. Texas A&M, defensive line. Texas A&M had a very good defensive line room, Diesel, in 2025. A team sack percentage in the plus 10 percentage. A&M 10.34. Oklahoma was among the top of the nation's leaders as well. No surprise there with Brent Venables, right? Tackles for loss volume also shows disruptive fronts. Indiana led the nation with 128 tackles for loss, one of the nation's leaders through early January. So real production, defensive line-wise, came from A&M, Oklahoma, and Indiana. I don't think people expected Indiana to be up there, right? And here's a big one, offensive line. I remember you holding your magazine open and reading Phil Steele's magazine as to why Clemson would be one of the strongest offensive line groups in the country, right? Guess what? They weren't. Utah was. The Spencer Fano won the Outland Trophy, which is the best interior lineman award, a major stamp for one of the most dominant linemen in the country. Logan Jones of Iowa, Diesel, won the Remington Award for the best center. So Iowa, Utah, those big corn-fed guys, they had the best offensive line. Shocker. Phil Steele said Clemson was going to be one of the best. And you saw it. I saw it all season. I think Clemson, with the personnel going into the season up front, expected to be one of the best units, but they were horrible this year up front.
Yeah, how do you explain Clemson's just just list of awards preseason. We're going to give them this award. We're going to give them that award. They're this good. They're that good. How do you explain across the board? Does it all start from the top down? Does it all start from Dabo Swinney? Did he sort of miss the plot all season long, and that affected the way all of these guys decided to perform and to prepare?
I think if somebody knew the answer to that, Dabo would really appreciate the answer, right?
He'd hire him in a heartbeat.
It would be. You're right. It would be a big answer for somebody like that, because ultimately I go back to the D word, development. You can have all these guys all you want, but are they being developed the right way? I don't think they were at Clemson this past year. So I think that's a big part of it. I do want to pause, though. Exit ramp. Shane Barrett, I have no idea what's about to happen. You set this up.
Yeah, Shane called. Shane is a longtime Tolo. He moved down to Alabama, has made his way back here to the upstate. We're excited to have you back, Shane, and welcome to the show. We haven't heard you call in for a while.
That's right.
You've prepared something special for us, and I am excited to hear this, Shane. I don't know if you want to dive straight into the song or if you want to set it up yourself.
God. No, I'm going to give a quick explanation. You said something about how happy players being, how that could affect their performance and staying at school and things, and this honestly just popped straight into my head. So here we go.
Okay.
If you're happy and you know it, stay at school. If you're happy and you know it, stay at school. If you're happy and you know it, and your paycheck surely shows it. If you're happy and you know it, stay at school. And there you go, boys.
But Shane. Why do you want them to stay at school? School's not the focus anymore.
Because, well, you just said it, Cole. If you are happy where you're at and you feel like you're growing as a player, then why switch schools? You've got a better shot at developing
money
and staying in the same system than switching systems every year. Or
but college athletes don't think like that. They don't think like you do.
Oh, I know.
They don't think like I do.
I was an 18-year-old once. I was stupid, but you've got to think more long-term, especially if you have aspirations to go to the NFL.
I mean, Shane, what would you do if you're 19 years old, you're 20 years old, so that would make you a sophomore, maybe at let's say you're at UL Monroe, right? And you were a standout. You're good at UL Monroe. I know that's saying a lot there. And then all of a sudden, a school that's a little bit bigger than yours, North Texas, it's had a little bit of success. They say, hey, you're doing okay down there. You're making $25,000 or $50,000. We want to up that to $150,000 to have you come over here. Yeah, you're going to be with a new bunch of guys. Yeah, you're going to be you're going to be with a new head coach, new coordinators, new everything. Would you like to come over? For $100,000, you'll say, yeah, I'll do that.
I probably would, but I also going from UL Monroe to North Texas, I would almost try and leverage that with UL Monroe. I don't know what UL Monroe's budget is, but it feels like it's similar.
Well, not much. Yeah, they had the smallest athletic budget in the country this year.
You picked them.
Well, I just picked somebody that's not like a contender. Okay, so change it and say Arkansas State. You're at Arkansas State and you're making $50,000 or $75,000, and then North Texas, who was right there on the cusp of making the CFP this year, says we'll double it to bring you down here to Denton.
I mean, from a monetary standpoint, you would make that jump, right? But I think from a development standpoint and, again, a leverage standpoint, you've got to try and stay at Arkansas State, especially using North Texas in this example. Their head coach just left, and their star quarterback just left.
Right.
So it's going to be a completely different situation at North Texas than it was from the previous year. You have no idea if what they're building. You have a better picture of what Arkansas State in this example is building. And I'll bring up like a specific player example. Walker White was recruited to Auburn, committed to Auburn, was there for a year, transferred to Baylor last year, and then now has transferred to Central Arkansas because he's just been chasing this playing time that he's not going to get because Hugh Freeze is an idiot and didn't develop him at Auburn. And then Baylor had Sawyer Robertson, and then now I think, if I had read this correctly, they're bringing in DJ Lagway because they want to compete, and you're not going to take a shot on a guy who's a redshirt sophomore with zero playing time. Like, I think he played maybe 5 snaps at Auburn and didn't play at Baylor, to my knowledge. And now he's stuck at a situation where he's going to Central Arkansas, and he's not guaranteed playing time there either.
I get
where if he'd stayed at Auburn, they're bringing in Byron Brown, but he could go into his junior or redshirt sophomore season next year and have a real opportunity to be the starter.
So, Shane, it sounds like you're laying out a strategy. What should be a winning strategy if you're a pretty good quarterback and you fancy yourself playing, for example, in the SEC or in the Big Ten? If you're not going to start as a true freshman wherever you're going, you shouldn't go there as a backup, because they may just jump over you with another transfer quarterback the next year. What you're saying is your strategy should be go to James Madison, go to North Texas, go to Tulane, get on the field immediately. You'll get noticed, and you'll be that next hot transfer to go somewhere else and make more money somewhere else. It feels like that's what the strategy should be, but here's the problem. There's a lot of egos involved. There's a lot of five stars don't sign at G5 schools. And when you're coming in as a highly touted young guy, they're going to throw $1 million at you to come and ride the bench at Florida.
Yeah. I mean, Deuce Knight for Auburn. Again, you guys know I'm an Auburn fan.
No, I had no idea.
He offered a lot of money to stay at Auburn and back up Byron Brown this year, and then have his chance at being the starter next year under what I'm hoping is an actual competent coach in Alex Golesh. He's going to Ole Miss, where he may have a better shot, but it's still not guaranteed.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. And thanks for the call, by the way, Shane. I just think it all goes back to what Fran Brown said, what you said, what Diesel said, and I know we're about to run off to a break. I think it all goes back to Fran. Like, money's involved, of course. Playing time's always been at the forefront of these kids' mind. It's always been that way. That's never changed, but now they have an opportunity to actually transfer, Diesel. And Fran Brown said it. It's just everybody trading too. So when all of these guys leave, it opens up more opportunities for these other players to make moves across the country where they are told they're going to get playing time. They're told they're going to get an opportunity to, have an NIL valuation one day. It's a cesspool, and Fran Brown said it. He hit the nail on the head. Everybody's just trading twos. That's all they're doing.
We need more people who believe what was his name, Najee Harris, that we had on the show, who ended up going to play football at Georgia Southern. Najee Thompson played with the Vikings. He said, if you're good enough, you'll get noticed anywhere. And we need more people who think like that, rather than, hey, you're the GOAT from your high school. You should go over there and make $2 million, even if you're not going to play. When we come back, Cole, let's jump into the college basketball conversation. I'm going to switch gears and talk college basketball with Rocco Miller from Bracketeer.org. That's coming up next.
Fan Upstate.
There's a whole lot more to know about sound if you really want to go into the subject.
Your smart speaker. Just say play 97 The Fan Upstate on your HD radio at WFBC HD3.
Oh, there's just one more thing.
And on your computer at
TheFanUpstate.com.
Text or call. One number does it all. 844-326-3663. That's 844-FAN-PHONE. This is Wire to Wire with Cole, Bryson, and Diesel on the Fan Upstate.
Shifting our focus now towards NCAA men's basketball, Cole, because we only have one football game left in the season. You don't want to be caught slipping. You need all the info, and that's why we bring on Rocco Miller from Bracketeer.org to talk college hoops with us every single Tuesday at this time. Rocco, I want to start right here in the upstate of South Carolina. Are these Clemson Tigers legit? Yes, they've just made their way into the top 25. They're on a heck of a little win streak here. Are they legit, and how legit are they really?
Well, I would say yes. That's just a simple answer to the question. Now, obviously, I think Clemson fans, as well as those of us nationally, want to see them achieve something even greater than the overtime win over Georgia that we saw in November. The home win over SMU, of course, last Wednesday was nice as well. But obviously SMU dealing with some team illnesses. So in general, I think if you're looking to jump up into that elite class of a top 15 team or so, there's one step left to go in terms of getting that big win. Miami's playing very well. Clemson gets a crack at them at Little John this Saturday. But I think as the season goes on, there's going to be plenty of other opportunities with the Dukes and the North Carolinas later, and even Louisville. So I think to answer the ultimate question, we're going to have to stay the course and play that out. But I think from what we've seen in this 7-game winning streak, is the analytics love Clemson's defense, the 8th best defense in the country over the last month. The amount of both interior and 3-point stops and defensive rebounding and shot selection on offense have all been excelling for the Clemson Tigers. So what it tells me is Brad Brownell and his staff have just done a tremendous job preparing, game planning, treating each possession like gold. And that can get you a long ways in this sport. And as it stands today, my first bracket exercise is ongoing this week, so that should be published within the next week. And so I would have Clemson right now as either a 5 or a 6 seed. They're right in that 20 or 21st position overall on the seed list. So they're clearly performing like a top 25 team. And to get into that next cut of teams with the elites, they'll have to achieve one of those big wins, but can't really do that. They can only play the next team in front of them, and that's tonight. Boston College really don't want to let that team hang around. Get that one done early and often so you can look ahead to the bigger one with Miami this Saturday.
Rocco, it's Cole here. I want to keep it on the Clemson subject for a second because you mentioned from a national perspective, you cover the nation's best teams. You cover all the teams in college basketball at the Division I level. In your mind, what has separated even Brad Brownell's best teams from the teams that have been able to go and win it all in recent years?
Well, I think the best teams rebound, defend, play together, and don't waste possessions. I mean, it's that simple across all the different levels, right, for winning championships. Even the Big South champion has to be able to do that at least for 1 week in March. And so, to be able to advance. And I was there with Clemson in L.A. a couple of years ago. That team was absolutely special. So I was there for their upset win over Arizona, which shocked a lot of us in the West. And, of course, played a really great game, just fell short in the second half. Alabama made a bunch of adjustments, and that's how close this program was to a Final Four. I mean, at halftime of that Clemson-Alabama game, a lot of us in press row were prepared to see the Tigers advance to the Final Four. So I think now that the program's reached that height and just such a good model of consistency, it feels like throughout all these years of Brad Brownell, he's on the hot seat so many times. He's now elevated and really succeeded in that pressure position that now we're at a point where the pressure is probably not there as much anymore, certainly is not. And to the point where now he's like one of the deans of head coaches in the ACC, even nationally. and really out coaching most of his peers in a lot of these matchups where, I would say this team is not as talented as that Elite Eight team, but they have the ability to continue to pester teams defensively. Jake Wallen, Nick Davidson, both just monsters, and Carter Welling also. I mean, they can throw formidable big lineups at you, and then they still have great guard play with the way Justin Porter's playing and Dylan Hunter and RJ Godfrey, and Godfrey's big as well. So they throw so many more problems at opponents with their defense, and then have just enough offense to really put it on teams that are inferior. So Clemson, to me, has an extremely high floor, which is a great thing in terms of like their long-term forecast to be a tournament team. Now it's just about how high can they climb, and I think that's just where we look to next. But I feel very secure that they are in a great position so far this year, and I would love to see them get a couple of elite wins as we get towards the end and they have those chances.
Rocco, as you look at Clemson's play, what sort of holes or deficiencies do you see at the moment? I mean, yeah, you mentioned there that right now it looks like everything is trending up in the right direction, but when you're comparing them to the elites, those top 15 teams, there's always just that one extra little bit that some teams have that other teams just don't. What do you see from this Clemson team that still right now you would kind of dock them on, as slim as it might be?
Yeah. Well, team-wise, there's two glaring offensive problems. Outside shooting has been a problem right now, just 28% from three in ACC games. And that's towards the bottom of the league. So obviously you'd love to see that percentage go up. Free throw percentage also towards the bottom of the ACC. Hasn't really burned them in any games. Of course, Clemson's 4-0 in the league. But offensive rebounding, I think, is probably an even bigger concern because they are basically so focused on the defensive end. It seems like a shot goes up and all five guys are ready to run back and defend. And so maybe that's not as big of an issue based on the way schematically Brownell and the Tigers prefer to play. But I think on the defensive end, everything looks in line for defense, championship quality defense, as I've been alluding to. I think the one area they've struggled with is just putting teams on the line too often. Trying to play good defense without fouling is a big area where Clemson can improve. They're last in the ACC with their fouling rate. So those are some of the team tendencies that have room for improvement. I would also just say from an overall talent perspective, if you're trying to beat Duke, Carolina, Louisville, those three specifically have multiple NBA players. I just had Louisville out here when they played Stanford. That roster's got 3 to 5 NBA guys. Obviously, Duke speaks for itself. Carolina speaks for itself. And quite frankly, Clemson and a lot of the other ACC really, really good teams like Virginia Tech and even Stanford here and a couple other examples, really, really good college players, old teams together, great passers, all those little things that win college basketball games, but they don't have that NBA level athleticism at the same quantity as those top three. So I think Clemson has to be able to overcome those challenges. They can't do anything about their players, but they can do different schematic things to combat some of the athleticism. But that's going to be the great challenge as we go forward.
Rocco, on the flip side, before we move away from our local teams, what's the national, forecast, but also current temperature gauge on Lamont Paris in South Carolina? A fan base that's extremely passionate, as you know, about their sports. Lamont Paris had a really good first year, but things have not been great in the last two. How do you kind of judge what Lamont's done? We do know their NIL budget was increased significantly going into this year, and their shooting. You mentioned Clemson shooting. Their shooting has not been the best. How do you kind of look and grade South Carolina and the job Lamont's done right now?
Yeah, it's still in limbo because there's not necessarily a bad individual result. Of course, they went out to the tournament and lost to Butler and Northwestern, so you'd love to have those opportunities back. Those were both narrow losses, close game situations that didn't bode well. They also turned around not too much later and lost at home in overtime to Virginia Tech, and I know that's one they would also love to have back. The Clemson game was fairly close, lost that one by 7, and then dropped 2 in league. Nothing. Now, in my opinion, even though they're both at home, Vanderbilt and Georgia are very, very tough teams this year. Vanderbilt, of course, elite, undefeated. They play at a lightning's pace with a lot of capable scorers. And I think Vanderbilt can actually win the SEC this year. We'll see how that materializes as we go. Georgia at home, you would love to see them hang on and win that game. So I know that one is another one they'd love to have back. But again, Georgia's only lost twice all year. So at this stage in the game, I don't think you can really criticize Paris and the guys that hard for losing. Obviously, you want to win all your home games. And they, even last year when it was really, really rough for South Carolina, they had a couple big home wins, namely the Arkansas win when they just clubbed them out of nowhere in late February. But yeah, I would have to ask you guys, like, what is the expectations? Obviously, football is king at South Carolina, but you'd love to see the basketball program evolve and grow. The SEC as a whole has become the best basketball league in the country, so they have to keep up with the Joneses there. And now, at 1-2 in the league, they're facing a brutal road week at Arkansas and at Auburn. So they might be staring 1-4 right in the face as we speak.
Yeah, Rocco, I think a lot of South Carolina, men's basketball fans just want to see them keep pace. Like you said, keep up with the Joneses. Don't be the bottom dweller of the conference as they were last year. They want them to have a couple stars and studs on a year in and year out basis. I want to ask you about one last local team here, a team that's won 8 out of their last 10, but man, took a head-scratching loss to Western Carolina. I'm talking about Furman and the Paladins, a program that I think a lot of us around here think, could be sort of a mini Gonzaga of the Southeast, have that ability as a small private school to focus on basketball and make that be what they're elite at. We don't want to see Bob Ritchie leave the upstate, but, it feels like his time is going to come at some point if he'll ever, pull that trigger and take a bigger and better job. What are your thoughts on Bob Ritchie, Furman so far this season, and just the SoCon as a whole?
Yeah, well, I think, first of all, Bob Ritchie's done an incredible job. I had the opportunity to be out there for SoCon Media Day throughout the couple of days there. It was phenomenal. And I went out to Furman's practice, saw the new facility. So now I have to get back for an actual game because that place is spectacular. And you're right. Like what they've been able to build there is amazing. And those wins over the years, obviously, the big moment happened more recently with the win over Virginia in the first round of the NCAA tournament. But those teams with Mr. Lyons and beating like Villanova and beating Loyola Chicago, they had so many big wins over the years. And it's amazing that Ritchie's actually still there. I know he's had his opportunities to move up and he's continued to stay home and continue building the program. And I think this year, injuries have been the story of the season. They were not healthy when I was down there. I know by the time the season started, Charles Johnson was available and he's played in every game, but he missed a lot of preseason camp. So did Tom House, who was a preseason SoCon player. Turns out he's not even cracking the starting lineup all the time now. So it's one of these things where Ritchie's had a different deck of cards almost every week for who's available, who's not available, because obviously the recent issue is Cooper Bowser, who has not been healthy, and they've had to go to his brother, Cole Bowser, who made his debut last week.
Yeah.
So I just think that's a big part of it. It's hard to get consistently good. You're going to have a more random set of results when you're having different rotations and guys out there. And I don't even know if Furman's fully got that locked in at this point because Cooper's going to have to come back, and obviously he's a key piece. So I think given the circumstances, I can justify a lot of where they're at. They're still 12-5, 3-1 in the league. Obviously the Western Carolina home loss, that's a big team that I think got after them a little bit on the glass. And Furman's really struggled at the foul line and struggled a little bit with their size in general. They get their shots. A funny stat for Furman is they get their shot blocked almost 13% of the time, which is one of the worst in the country. So there's clearly some different size deficiencies impacting results. They're also just turning the ball over way too much. And you can point that all back to a lot of the availability of the players. So you would just hope as a Furman fan that they can once and for all get this team locked in with a solid, steady rotation and 100% healthy. And if not, I still think there's plenty of reason for hope because the second part of your question was about the SoCon. And the SoCon, quite frankly, is as down as I've ever seen it. And that's really sad to say because I love this league. I don't think it's permanent. I think it's just a weird year with, I think when I was at Media Day, 14 out of the 15 all-conference selections, which made up the first, second, and third teams, were all newcomers. Then your Conference Player of the Year, Ricky Bradley Jr. from VMI, has not even played yet because he's going through an injury. And who knows, he might not even play this year. So the genesis of the story here is the league title race is wide open. Right now, East Tennessee State's been the most solid, and that's because they have the best defense in the league at 4-0, but there's no guarantees they're going to win it. Furman's right in the mix. Wofford's had some moments. They've off to a pretty good start. And even Mercer, who just knocked off Wofford, it has a chance. So I think the SoCon is wide open. And because of the things you said at the very beginning, with Furman having the most solid program and the most solid foundation, arguably, in the league, they still have as good a chance as anyone to get out of here with at least a tournament berth.
Rocco, before we let you go, when you look at these conferences, conference talk's a big part of college football, but college basketball, I love the fact that it seems like we talk about the games and what happens on the floor more than we do conferences and, who loses to who in the postseason. From what you've seen thus far in the, almost halfway point of the season, maybe we're just past it, but from what you've seen with your eyes, where is the SEC top to bottom compared to the ACC? We get a lot of conversation about those two conferences in particular, as you can imagine why.
Well, one thing is clear. The gap is much closer than it has been in the last couple of years. The ACC's gone through it with a lot of the bottom just being junk and teams falling apart, quite frankly. You look what happened to Miami last year. BC's been down. So I think the big story this year is the ACC because as we sit here today on January 13th, 74 in the top 74 of the net right now, 14 of the 18 members are in that mix. And that means anytime you play those 14 teams on the road, you're in a quad one game. That's really important for down the road when we put all the data together and look at resumes and compare teams. When you're throwing that many quad one games and high quad two games into the shuffle, it's a lot easier to compare an ACC bubble team to an SEC or a Big Ten who are just going to have that data baked in as power leagues, and the Big 12 is very good as well. So the ACC, in my mind, has caught up to those three, at least in a close enough way. There's arguments that the other three are still a tad stronger, but I think the depth of the ACC is the most critical part. Now you have games out here like with Cal and Stanford. You have games at places like Virginia Tech and Miami. And all of those are going to be incredibly meaningful. Even like a Notre Dame, who's not completely out of it yet, matters a lot. And in years past, we've gotten to the February part of ACC play, and games just simply don't have much weight. And in fact, if you lose, you're just killing yourself. That's not going to be happening quite as often this year. In fact, just the four teams in the league, Georgia Tech, Pitt, Florida State, and BC, are the only ones that are really out of it right now. So I think that's really exciting. And from the SEC standpoint, they've obviously, they can't uphold what they did last year. That was a record-setting year. And there's been several teams from South Carolina to especially Ole Miss. And we can go down the line, but there's a lot of teams that are not in position. Even Texas, who just won to Alabama, they're not even in position right now to be selected. They have a lot of work to do because they did not have the non-conference nearly what they had a year ago. And so the SEC right now might be capped out at a 10-bid season, which is still good out of 16 members, but it's going to be nowhere near that 14 mark. And I think when we get to the end, both the ACC could get anywhere from 8 to 10 bids still. And if the SEC's in that 9-10 range, they might end up at the end with the same amount of teams. And if you would have told me that in October, fellas, I would have been shocked. So it's the story is about the ACC.
Rocco, your capacity to consume all of this astounds me every single time we have you on. We appreciate you. You're the best. Thanks for your time.
Anytime, fellas. Look forward to next week.
Thanks,
all right,
man.
talk soon. That is Rocco Miller, bracketeer.org, Cole, and he's bringing the stuff up off the top of his head. That was just really mind-boggling to me that he's able to pull that off. Let's do this, Cole. Let's get off to our break real quick because on the other side we have our Daily Wires. Coming back to you. 4-5.
The ball's in your court. Sound off now at 844 fan phone.
This is Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson on the Fan Upstate.
A very quick edition of our Daily Wires. It's the buzz that's happening in the sports world tonight on the Fan Upstate. Don't miss what I am calling the biggest game in the state of South Carolina high school basketball-wise. I say that because it's true. Top 5 showdown between Dorman and Burns. Coverage begins at 7 o'clock p.m. right here on the Fan Upstate. Going to be a big one tonight for first place in Region 2 5A. Diesel last night in the NFL, not a close game. Texans stomped the Steelers 30-6. That Texans defense is legit.
Yeah, and they might have ended 2 careers, Cole. They might have ended Aaron Rodgers' career. They might end Mike Tomlin's career as a head coach.
That's tough. Brooks Koepka expecting a nervous energy. Shocker. Why? Yeah, who's shocked? When returning to a regular PGA Tour event, he says, I've got a lot of work to do with some players. In a telephone interview on Monday, he also said there's definitely some guys who are happy, definitely guys who will be angry. It's a harsh punishment financially. I understand why the tour did that. It's meant to hurt, but his departure hurt a lot of people, and there are a lot of people that are reacting to Brooks Koepka going back to the PGA.
We're going to get into this a little bit deeper on in the show, Cole, but is it maybe a little too penal what the PGA Tour is inflicting upon these players?
Maybe you can convince me later. Right now, I'm going to say no.
Okay.
Right now, I'm going to say no. Dan Morgan confirmed that Bryce Young's 5th-year option will be picked up. Big news for Carolina Panther fans, right? Big fan of that?
Yeah.
Oh, come on. Sound more confident. Sound more confident, please, sir.
He's the best current option.
Okay, good point. Good point. Tony Stewart will be making his return to NASCAR competition by driving for Calic or I don't know.
I think it's Collig
Racing?
Collig, yeah.
Collig? Something Racing. And the debut of the Ram truck at Daytona International Speedway next month. Stewart, 3-time NASCAR champion, last raced the truck in 2005. That'll be interesting. Tonight,
yeah, what's the worst that could happen?
Yeah, really.
He hadn't been in a truck in 21 years. It's
no
fine.
Biggie. Tonight, men's NCAA basketball action. Clemson hosts 7-9 Boston College. Clemson favored by a whopping 15.5 points. Virginia at Louisville, that's 16 versus 20. And number 3, UConn at number 25, Seton Hall. Tomorrow night, Chattanooga at Wofford at 6. And Furman on the road at Sanford at 7. That'll be a 6:30 airtime right here on the Fan Upstate. With a 3-pointer early in the third quarter Monday against the Hornets, James Harden surpassed Shaquille O'Neal for 9th on the all-time NBA scoring list, pushing his total to 28,598 points in his 1,187th regular season game. Shaq totaled 28,596 in 1,207 games. The Clippers beat the Hornets 117-109. Charlotte 14-26. 12th in the Eastern Conference.
But they got Brandon Miller back.
They got Brandon Miller. That's big. They definitely need that guy, right? Yep. And last one for you, in case you didn't know, the Winter Olympics start with preliminary competitions February the 4th, with the official opening ceremony on Friday, February the 6th.
Tolos, if you haven't seen it, Cole, I think I sent it to you. The footage of the American bobsled team trying to get into their sled. It did not go well. Only the pilot made it in on this particular run. So it's a 4-man bobsled, but only one of them got in. And think how terrifying that is, right? It's like being in a race car trying to do 200 miles an hour, and there's a huge crack in the spoiler. Like something's not right. There's no downforce. There's no weight in the back of the sled. And, oh, yeah, you're just sliding down this little ice chute at like 85 miles an hour by yourself.
That was brutal, wasn't it? I mean,
bad.
Funny but bad.
It's like if you haven't seen it, Tolos, first of all, I tweeted it at Diesel on Radio. But also, it's like watching the first half of Cool Runnings. They just couldn't get into the sled. Are you gonna be a big fan of the Winter Olympics this year, Cole?
I wish I could lie to you and say, yeah, of course.
Come on, root for America.
I'll root for them. I don't know how much I'll be invested. We'll see.
All right, Cole, when we come back, 2 men who are invested in the future of college football are going head-to-head. Who is going to reign supreme? Who is going to get what they want when it comes to the future of the college football playoff? We'll talk about it next.
facts.
Electrifying sports
Lights
talk from start to finish.
You're going wire to wire
With Diesel and Cole Bryson.
on the Fan Upstate.
It's fascinating, Cole, that a team is playing for a national championship here in just about 6 days, and its parent conference seemingly has no control whatsoever over what the college football playoff could look like in the future. That's the boat that Miami and the ACC finds themselves in as two egomaniacs in probably very expensive suits, Cole, are deciding what every conference in college football will have to do to win a national championship in the future. Welcome back into the show. We touched on this briefly earlier, Cole, with the college football playoff expansion conversation, specifically around how do we fix bowl games. But I want to hear from the Tolos as well. Right now, 844-326-3663, 1624. The number is up in the air, but expansion is going to happen.
Who'd you say were the two guys in the room, Diesel?
That would be Greg Sankey, commissioner of the SEC, and Tony Petitti, the commissioner of the Big Ten. They are in a tug of war over the future of what the college football playoff is going to be.
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head with what you said kind of jokingly when you opened the segment. Greg, I guess somehow, some way, Diesel, whoever did, whether it was me, you, or the NCAA, has just allowed Greg Sankey to make these kind of decisions and have this kind of impact, right?
Yeah.
Greg Sankey's the commissioner of the SEC. Greg Sankey is, do you know, maybe we need to do an investigation. Is Greg Sankey also employed by the NCAA? Do we know that? Is he getting checks from the NCAA?
Is anybody employed by the NCAA?
Well, that's a good point,
empty
too.
Building with nobody inside.
That's a good point. I just wonder, big picture, how we got to the point, and I think this is the problem when we talk about like college football scheduling, Diesel, and Nick Saban's talked about it, and Kirk Herbstreit, and all these guys have talked about it, fixing the schedule, fixing this, fixing that. Well, guess what? None of that's ever going to happen. We're never going to fix anything because of this, because of what you just said, because Greg Sankey and these other conference commissioners and Tony Petitti have to agree on it. So it's not about the NCAA. If you have a problem with the portal or the NIL or the schedule, which I think the schedule is my biggest issue right now, or even this, the college football playoff expansion, it's wild to me that there's not a governing body that actually makes these decisions.
So here is the reporting from Heather Dinich, who has done a phenomenal job for a number of years covering college football. She used to be ESPN's ACC beat writer. Now she is a senior college football insider. Here was her reporting just within the last couple of days. The Big Ten is willing, quote, by the way, the Big Ten is willing to consider a 16-team college football playoff field in 2026 if the SEC will commit to a 24-team field 2 or 3 years later. So the Big Ten's ready to go to 16 if that's what the SEC wants to do. But they also want the SEC to put it in writing that we will go to 24 at some point in the future, which Cole, is going to be sooner rather than later because money always wins.
Yeah, so I guess I'm understanding or trying to understand, Diesel, what the motive is, right, of the Big Ten. You and I both know what Greg Sankey's motive has always been, but from the Big Ten standpoint, does Tony Petitti just believe that the only answer is more Big Ten teams in the college football playoff?
He's been pretty greedy at this point, Cole, where he was the guy that really, really, really wanted a lot of guarantees for the Big Ten.
Yeah.
Remember, Greg Sankey at least appeared on the surface to be a little more magnanimous. Let's just rank these things 1 through 12 and let the chips fall where they may. But it was Tony Petitti that wanted guarantees for his conference, and he wanted more guarantees for the Big Ten and the SEC than the ACC and the Big 12 would get. Like I said, and how awkward would it be if Miami goes on to win the national championship this year and their conference has no say in this?
It would be. And I'll tell you what this proves to me, not trying to go off on a side rail or a side note here, Diesel, but this proves the conversation we've had with basketball to these idiots out there that think college basketball expansion of the tournament's going to allow more mid-major teams in. I mean, we're seeing a perfect example right now, Diesel, of what this corruption is going to look like. Tony Petitti's motive, I know the motive. I just asked the question, I know what Tony Petitti's motive is. If we expand to 16, if we expand to 24, in which I agree with you, it's coming. There's no doubt about that. It's going to mean more SEC teams in, hopefully, right, for them, for their sake, their sake.
As far as they're concerned.
That's right. More Big Ten teams in, because, by God, I cannot wait to watch Rutgers play in the college. I cannot wait as a college football fan to watch Rutgers and the college football playoff, because they had a good year. They finished 5th in the conference. And the Big Ten, hey, Big Ten's won the last 3 national championships, so Rutgers should be in. I cannot wait for that day, Diesel.
Yeah, and as you say about mid-majors in the NCAA tournament, it's not about putting a second SoCon team in years where they deserve one. It's not about putting a second Atlantic 10 team in or a second WAC team. Sure. It's about getting the 7th or 8th best SEC team in. You and I both know that. And look at all the vitriol that was spread over the last couple of weeks when both James Madison and Tulane got in. Recall, James Madison should not have been in the college football playoff, but not because they weren't deserving, but because the ACC's tiebreaker format was so screwy that it kept Miami out of the conference championship game. So all this hate thrown at the G5 is because the ACC couldn't get their tiebreaker scenario figured out. But Cole, it is clear, right? It was made very, very bare over the past couple of weeks that the vast majority of college football fans of Power 4 teams, they have a complete distaste for Group of 5 teams. They don't want them in, whether it's a 12-team playoff, a 14 playoff, or a 56-team playoff. They don't want Group of 5 teams in because they find the brand and the style of football and the amount of talent that they have on their teams distasteful. So it's not about getting more G5 teams in. It's about getting more SEC and Big Ten teams.
Well, for their motive, right? Because it's all about money. I'll say this, though. I actually am the opposite as a fan, and here's the reality. Let's preface by saying what a fan cares about doesn't matter anymore, so there's that, right? True. But as a fan, Diesel, I'm the opposite. I am opposed to in a 12-team playoff, 2 G5 teams getting in, but if you expand the playoffs, I'm not going to be like super against it. I don't mind. If you have expansion, I don't mind G5s getting in. I just don't like the fact that when you already have a 12-team playoff that's limited in terms of who gets in, and you have, in my opinion, a bubble of really good football teams that didn't get in, I don't like those 2 teams taking spots away from teams that I believe are more talented. If you expand it, I'm fine with it. I don't complain about teams getting in the NCAA basketball tournament that don't belong, right? Because you know why? It'll work itself out. If they're one of the best teams, they'll win. They'll take care of business. I just don't like it from a limited capacity standpoint. If there are limited seats at the table, that's where I have an issue. If everybody's getting in, Diesel, you know what? Let everybody in. That's what it's going to become.
So just out of curiosity, and we're going to have to go by the AP top 25 because the CFP only ranks the top 25. This year, the number 24 team was James Madison. They'd be the 24 seed facing the 1 seed, who would have been Indiana. Yeah. And then the 25 seed, by the way, was North Texas. So another G5 team. But if you look at the AP poll, the next best Power 4 team that was not ranked inside the top 24 in the CFP poll would have been, looks like, Tennessee. Do you think we wouldn't be having the argument that Tennessee has a better chance to beat Indiana than James Madison would?
Tennessee was ranked where?
Tennessee was, 3rd in others receiving votes. Iowa just before them was ranked 23rd, so they would have been in the 24 team playoff. Yeah. Houston, who is a Big 12 team, they were ranked 21st. Missouri, maybe we're having the conversation more about Missouri because Missouri was ranked 25 in the AP, but was not included in the CFP.
Well, my whole thing of that, to answer your question, my whole opinion there is this. if we expand this college football playoff to 16, okay, and then we expand it to 24, if you're on the 16 bubble and you're on the 24 bubble, you look me in the face, team, whoever it is, Tennessee, Missouri, you're telling me on the bubble of 16 and 24, you believe you are worthy of contending for a national
But that's
championship.
not going to stop people
No,
arguing
it's
about
not. And that's my whole point. Expansion's never going to solve problems. People thought when we went from 4 to 12, it was going to be just beautiful sunshine and rainbows because we weren't going to have any arguments, any debates anymore. But you're right. It's still going to, people are still going to argue and be upset. But at some point, reality has to kick in.
And again, as a fan whose team was FCS at the time, a 16-team playoff was great. I loved it. I loved higher rated seeds getting to host through the playoffs and having potentially 3 more games on your home campus that are massively meaningful. It was great, and I would love to see more of that if I'm one of those top teams.
Let me ask you this real quick, and this is a thought that's popped in my head. I want to ask you something on this FCS playoffs because I think it's interesting you brought that up. With the FCS playoffs having a 16-team playoff structure, I am not opposed to it. I'm not opposed to it, but where I have landed this entire time on the current playoff is, and we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, I still think there are only a handful of teams, 4 to 5 teams, Diesel, that are actually contenders of winning the national championship. You know more about the FCS playoffs from what you just talked about when App State was there. Mm-hmm. Curious though, this is just I'm really curious as to the level of competition and the balance of power in a 16-team FCS playoff compared to a 16-team playoff in Division One, or not I guess Division One Power 4, right? So like if we took this play, I guess my question is this: if we took this playoff, turned it into 16 teams, and compared it to the 16-team FCS playoff, in your mind, having known it better than me at the FCS level, is there more balance of power in the FCS playoff to where those 16 teams truly do have a shot at winning the national championship, where compared to, in my mind, in this current model, I still think only 4 or 5 teams have a shot?
Well, who just played for the FCS national championship?
Montana State.
And?
Montana State. Who was the other one?
Illinois
State.
Illinois State made it to the national championship game and almost won as an unseeded member of the 24-team FCS playoff. So I don't know exactly what that means. I don't know. Forgive me for not really studying up much on the FCS playoff.
But they made it in.
How many teams do they seed? I don't know. Probably 16. And then Indiana State made it. Illinois State made it in by virtue of winning the play-in game, and then they went on the road for 4 weeks in a row, knocking off the number 1 seed North Dakota State Bison, by the way, and made it all the way to the championship.
They weren't a top 16 team.
No, they were not.
Okay, and they won the championship. So that tells me right there.
They made it to the title game.
Yeah, and that answers my question. That kind of proves my not proves my point, but that kind of I figured that. What I'm getting at is I love FCS football because, to your point there that you just made with Illinois State, Diesel, 16 teams, 17, 18, 19, maybe 24 teams actually have a shot at winning the national championship. I believe there's more parity in terms of the levels of the balance of power in FCS in terms of what we're looking at. If we go to 16 or 24 teams, I still don't believe that changes and allows more teams to actually have a shot, if that makes sense.
You would think that, and that's what the conventional wisdom would say. But we've also seen North Dakota State go on a run where they've won like 8 of the last 10.
Yeah.
And so it's as if Alabama won 8 out of 10 national champions. Like one team won 80% of the last decade's worth
That's a lot.
of FCS playoffs.
That's a lot.
So I would argue the opposite, that the FCS has been eroded away in a major way because all the best teams in the FCS have now jumped to FBS conferences. And so now it's very, very top heavy. But despite all of that, Illinois State still made that run to the championship. Let's go to the phone lines, and we're going to bring in right now, Cole, we're going to bring in, who was it we had on
Kevin?
the line? Kevin, who wants to talk about the college football playoff bracket. Kevin.
Just a crazy idea. What if we just treat this like March Madness, have 64 teams? Nobody gets a bye, so no one can complain, oh, they're off for a week or two. You got teams bracketized, and they're playing teams that they normally don't see you play. Or is that just too
Well,
crazy?
I mean, where do you put all those games? Like in terms of the schedule?
Well, I mean, I haven't thought that far.
And
just a crazy idea.
Kevin,
they're getting paid for this now, which I'm not against, and this creates more football.
Well, how many weeks would that take to play, Kevin, though? Like in basketball, you can play multiple games a week, and you can churn through a 64-team tournament pretty quickly. But when you're talking about football, that's 7 days in between every game, and that really stretches this thing out.
Here you go, Diesel and Kevin. If you want that, go by the old NASCAR playoff method to where you're still playing games every week. Some teams are just playing for money, but some teams are actually playing for a chance to win a championship, but they're all playing on the same track, right? They're all playing in the same week. I love the idea. It's just, again, when you keep expanding, you just run out of weeks, and then the regular season becomes meaningless.
It'd take 6 weeks to play the tournament. Think about that. It takes 6 weeks.
Good point.
Yeah. But
Kevin, good to hear from you, man.
Appreciate it, Kevin. Let's go to the phone lines and bring in Tom in Somerville. What's up, Tom?
I caught the end of that conversation.
Mm-hmm.
But, Cole, I need to correct you on one thing. You said 16 FCS teams. There's 24 that make the FCS playoffs.
Right. You caught the tail end. I was saying we were talking about how it used to be 16. It's now 24. Illinois State was not one of the top 16, right?
Correct. So I think the power of football needs to go to 24.
Why?
And because, let's be honest, nobody's going to watch, except for people like me, the Idaho Potato Bowl, okay? I mean, if it's on TV, you might get a certain audience watch it. But all you got to do is attach college football playoff, and the ratings are going to skyrocket, okay? Now, teams 16 through 24, will they win it? Probably not. But because all this is about money, TV ratings, that's all it's about, might as well just bump it to 24 teams. Then you get, your SEC commissioners, your Big Ten commissioners, they'll be happy because they're getting, 6 to 7 teams guaranteed every single year, whether they deserve it or not. That's all they're crying about. So if you go to 24 teams, the SEC gets 6, the Big Ten gets 6, the ACC gets 3 or 4, the Big 12 gets 3 or 4, and then you have your at-large team.
And Tom, okay? and then Tom, the regular season's meaningless at that point.
Wait, do you want those 6, 6, 3, and 4? Do you want those to be guaranteed slots, or is that how many you're assuming that they'll probably get most years?
A little bit of both. In no way should we have 6 automatic bids from one conference.
Well, if you go there, then you convolute the whole system, and teams that don't deserve to be in but came in 6th place in the SEC, who may be inferior teams to the 4th best ACC team. I'm just making this up off the top of my head. Don't laugh. Now you're letting teams that don't deserve to be in because the format says they should be in, and we're right back here in the James Madison conversation.
And Tom, you're okay with a September Saturday game not meaning anything between LSU and Oklahoma, right?
Guys, college football is always going to mean something. I don't care what the national media narrative is. You can get South Carolina, and you can get Benedict, and you can put it on a football field, and I don't care if it's February, I don't care if it's September. If there is a football game by the University of South Carolina, this state is going to care. It doesn't matter who it's against and where it is. You can put it on a cornfield with no TV, and you're still going to get
So anybody should be able to make the playoff, right?
No, not necessarily. Not necessarily.
If you have a pulse.
You know, you gotta have a pulse, yes. But you gotta put some realism into this a little bit.
Realism.
They're not going to stay at 12 teams.
No, I know that.
As soon as we go to 16 teams, somebody's going to be upset about number 17. So why don't we just end the discussion, go to 24, and just start there, and let's just all make a bunch of money. We get football into February. You can have the national championship the day after the Super Bowl, and everybody
no.
We get college football till February.
No, I don't like that.
Oh, my goodness.
No.
Because then look at it. Then not only do we get college football the same weekend as the Super Bowl, right? We get a few days off. College football or college baseball season starts the next week. And then before you know it, the school year is effectively over in the first week of May, and that is when you can have your portal window in May, and the calendar is fixed.
Tom, you need this thing 3 letters called a DVR. Your issues would be solved.
Well, I can't watch a game. I already know what happens.
And Tom, I noticed how you said you could get South Carolina versus Benedict and 30,000 would show up. I hate to tell you, man, but that's less than a half full for Williams-Brice Stadium. If only 30,000 show up, that's a huge problem.
Yeah, it's true.
Well, if those two schools ever played and it was in Williams-Brice Stadium, 80,000 people are showing up. 60,000 of them are probably going to go for the game. The other 20,000 are probably just going to go watch the band. But either way, you got a full stadium. I mean, I hate the argument about games not mattering. College football in this state will always matter.
Thanks, Tom. Appreciate it,
man.
No, the answer, Cole, you cannot do automatic bids. If you're going to 16, if you're going to 24, you got to do straight seeding. And if you're inside the top 16, if you're inside the top 24, you're in.
Yeah.
No matter what. That has to be the rule. And that means games matter all the way to the end, because you're vying for the second place spot in your conference. You're vying for the third place spot in your conference and national seeding to get into this thing. Cole, do we have time? Should we bring on Dewey right now?
Let's get Dewey. Might as well.
Dewey. Is Tom right or is he wrong?
Everyone's wrong. I was going to call in today, but Tom came in and started talking about the bowls and all that. You know what? This is what needs to really happen. Forget about 24 teams in the playoffs. You either do one or two things. You either, like y'all said earlier, cancel all the bowls. The bowls are garbage. It's a joke. It's a gimmick. You got the toilet bowl, the hamburger bowl, the cheeseburger bowl. It's time for all of them, the bowls, to go away. Or you either, or like someone else done said something about going to a 64-team playoff, and you could do that immediately after the Carolina-Clemson game. Forget about the conference championships. They're garbage. And other than that, college football has turned to garbage. Oh!
Tell them, Dewey.
All right. Hey, short and sweet.
Emotional today, right?
That's the best thing about that call.
Very emotional, no doubt. Dewey, you're the best. Appreciate all the phone calls. Good stuff. Diesel, when we come back, we now look at it used to be, 8? Maybe it's now 9. It used to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now 9 NFL vacancies. That's over 25% of the National Football League is now without a head coach. Who they are, where they rank in terms of job attractiveness after the big news today about Mike Tomlin no longer being in Pittsburgh. That's next.
phone. This is Wire to Wire with Cole, Bryson, and Diesel on the Fan Upstate.
Corn Chip gets in on the Joy Law Firm text line, says the only reason those cupcake games for Clemson and South Carolina get good attendance is because they're the only ones us regular people can afford to go to. He's got a point. They are cheaper tickets, right? So I do understand that for sure. Diesel, there were, as of this morning, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 head coaching vacancies in the National Football League. As of now, there are 9. When you add the Pittsburgh Steelers to the list, you have the Arizona Cardinals, the Atlanta Falcons, the Baltimore Ravens, the Cleveland Browns, the New York Giants, the Las Vegas Raiders, Miami Dolphins, Tennessee Titans, and the Pittsburgh Steelers, all looking for a head coach. And we were going to rank these in terms of the attractiveness, right? The attractiveness scale when it comes to these now 9 teams who have vacancies in the NFL. I just don't know if it's fair now, because Pittsburgh, who has all of this rich history, all of these Super Bowl titles, right, Diesel? They came in right before our show, right before our segment, and the biggest news of the day, I don't want to say parted ways with Mike Tomlin, but what do you think? Mike Tomlin stepped down. Do you believe Mike Tomlin was kind of nudged to step down?
So he still had 2 years left on his contract. And I think after 5 straight playoff appearances with losses of double digits, I think ownership came to him and said, hey, Mike,
it's time.
We're in a spot. Like, it's time. Like, man, we have given you 19 years to turn this thing into a dynasty. If it hadn't happened yet, it ain't going to happen. Like, we love you. We appreciate you. We know you're a phenomenal ambassador and a phenomenal human being. But this is an untenable situation. The fans are not happy. We want to let you go, but we want to let you go on your terms.
Yeah, nothing's changed, right? Nothing's changed. And you said it. It's been year after year after year. And hopefully you would see change in that, right? But you just haven't. So I'm with you. I think he was probably nudged a little bit. I just don't think Mike Tomlin woke up today and decided, you know what, I'm done. That $1 million paycheck I'm getting, whatever it is, I'm good. I'll pass, whatever. So now there are 9 teams in the National Football League, Diesel, who are looking for a head coach. Again, the Cardinals, the Falcons, the Ravens, the Browns, Giants, Raiders, Dolphins, Titans, and Steelers. It looks like Jim Harbaugh is going to get one of the 9 jobs, right? Obviously. Joe, I get them mixed up. John Harbaugh, who was previously at Baltimore, I would imagine he goes to New York. I don't know that for certain. I would imagine that New York's probably one of the more attractive destinations until today, right? Tell me your thoughts. Going into the show, I was going to put New York, even though they've been horrible, as one of the top destinations because they have what? They have a young quarterback in Jackson Dart, Diesel, who's shown some promise, right? The Falcons have Michael Penix. Cardinals have Kyler Murray. The Browns have Shador. The Raiders have Fernando Mendoza, I guess, coming that way, right? The Dolphins have Tua. Yeah, you say that with a question mark?
They have Quinn Ewers.
Quinn, that's right.
Because remember, Tua said the other day that he'd be interested in a trade.
And the Titans have Cam Ward. So that's kind of where we are.
Yeah.
I know it sounds crazy, but I did have the New York Football Giants as one of my more attractive teams until today. And I say that's why it's unfair, Diesel, because now the Steelers, that's by far the most attractive job, right?
One would think. Obviously the Steelers have proven that, the standard is not actually all that high, and you can be the head coach there for a long time. Now, I don't know if for the incoming coach, they'll give him 19 years to figure it out. But hey, look, you're walking into a very stable organization, and that counts for a lot. But, if you're John Harbaugh, if you're if you're any of these other coaching candidates, it feels like, especially if you're John or Mike Tomlin, you get to kind of pick which quarterback you want to work with.
Sure.
Right? Like almost all these teams have young quarterbacks, first year, second year, third year guys. None of them have entrenched veterans starting for them. So you get to kind of look around and say, oh, I kind of like what that Michael Penix guy is doing down there. And if you're John Harbaugh, maybe you say, you know what, I kind of like to work somewhere in the South where it's warm that I can walk in. Hey, would you not say that John Harbaugh, if he was coaching for the Atlanta Falcons, wouldn't have the Falcons as a favorite to win the NFC South?
No, I think they'd definitely be a contender. I think you're right in the sense of you do, if you're John Harbaugh, you kind of find your place, kind of find yourself, Diesel, in a place, in a spot that you're really fortunate, because not often do fired NFL coaches probably have the pick of the litter. I mean, he kind of does here. I'm not saying all 9 teams would hire him tomorrow, but John Harbaugh is still John Harbaugh. John Harbaugh is still a very good coach. Mike Tomlin would be the same way. If Mike Tomlin said, hey, I still want to coach, I'm going to find one of these 9 or 8 NFL teams that he can now coach, I think Tomlin would still be in this very similar boat. But I don't think we've seen many instances in the history of the NFL where a guy in John Harbaugh can literally sit back and say, which one, to your point, which one of these do I want? Do I want Jackson Dart? Do I want to go? Well, here's the interesting thing about Pittsburgh. Who's the quarterback? You know? So
Mason Rudolph?
Mason Rudolph's not the guy, right? We know that. He's had opportunity after opportunity. I don't even know how he's still on the roster.
Andy from the Berg texted in a few minutes ago and basically alluded to that exact point. He goes, the Steelers don't have a quarterback. That's not a good job. And the fact that they made the playoffs means they're not going to be drafting high unless they can sell out to get up higher in the draft.
It's fair.
So they're not going to have a quarterback. And if they do, he's going to be an unproven rookie.
No, that's very fair, Diesel. And I would even say, look, you do want to go where a quarterback. I think it's New York. If we have to go most attractive, I mean, maybe to your point, Atlanta. Atlanta's got talent. Like, I watched Atlanta this year, Diesel, and felt like here were my thoughts on Atlanta. This is a poorly coached football team because there's way too much talent for them to be this bad. They've got Michael Penix. Got one of the league's best running backs in Bijan Robinson. They got A.J. Terrell. They've got some pretty good dudes defensively, Diesel. So maybe Atlanta's right there. Maybe I'm going to side with you. Atlanta, New York, I mean, a huge market, you know, a fan base that cares. I'm not saying Atlanta don't, but Jackson Dart, Cam Scatterbo, I mean, those I don't know.
Yeah, well, like you said, if you're John Harbaugh or if you're Mike Tomlin, you could walk into a team that feels turnkey ready, right? You know, it's like you're not hopping into a Ferrari, but you might be hopping into like a Camaro.
But then again, think about it like this. I know Las Vegas hasn't been good, but Fernando Mendoza has. Diesel, I'm just saying. They're not on the bottom of my attractiveness scale, because you do have Max Crosby, who's one of the league's best players on the defensive side of the football.
Mm-hmm.
You're in Vegas,
and you're in a brand new spanking
stadium. Great, you know, you're gonna get plenty. I mean, you're gonna have money. You're gonna have Fernando Mendoza. I would probably put Las Vegas somewhere around 3-4 on the attractiveness scale.
Yeah,
not terrible. Fernando, I mean, I think there's potential to build around him. You still got to build a roster, but I don't know. That's interesting.
So, I mean, yeah, you can make a case that Baltimore is an elite job. You can make a case, and by the way, earlier I said there's none of these teams have entrenched starters. Well, obviously the Ravens do with Lamar.
Sure.
But outside of those, the Falcons could be seen as an attractive job. The Ravens are an attractive job. The Giants are attractive. The Raiders are attractive for different reasons. I mean,
it's interesting.
If you were going to start from the bottom, Cole, if you're going to start from, what is the least attractive of these jobs? Is it Arizona?
It's Arizona or Cleveland. It's Arizona or Cleveland. There are only 32 jobs in the NFL, so like if you get the Cleveland job, you get it. there's very little that excites me about Arizona, Diesel. There is.
You got to believe that you can get rid of Kyler Murray.
No doubt. No doubt.
If you feel like you can get rid of him on day one, maybe Arizona moves up the list a tad, but then you don't have a quarterback.
And the last thing I'll say, we were talking about attractiveness for Harbaugh. If you take Harbaugh out of the equation, obviously Baltimore is near the top of the list because you have Lamar Jackson and you have Derrick Henry and you have Zay Flowers and you've got great linemen, right? Now, Todd Monken's got to get better at offensive coordinator, but they're loaded.
If you're a head coach coming in, would you not fire Todd Monken and bring in whoever you want?
Maybe. Or call plays yourself. Yeah, maybe so. Really interesting, though. 9 now. Over 25% of the league, Diesel, looking for head coaches.
It's wild. That we talk about it in college football, how we talked about that this year in the SEC, how so many SEC teams were needing head coaches. The NFL is getting into that same spot, Cole. When we come back, we alluded to this in our Daily Wires. Let's go a little deeper into the story of Brooks Koepka making his way back to the PGA Tour. And you think, oh, okay, he just walks right in, picks up a golf club, and starts making birdies. Well, it's not quite that simple. And the question is the PGA Tour being a little too rough on these guys as they're making their way back from LIV? We'll talk about it next.
Sports takes at the door. Call in if you're man enough.
844 Fan Phone. This is Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson on the Fan Upstate.
Well, Cole, the grass was not greener at Live Golf. And Brooks Koepka is making his return to the PGA Tour. And there is a program that could bring Bryson DeChambeau, Cam Smith, and others back from Live Golf. So now Brooks says he wants to be home more often. He wants to spend more time with his wife and his newborn kid as opposed to being out traveling with Live. And I thought that was the whole point of Live anyway. Shorter tournaments, less time away.
And Diesel, it came out just within the last hour or so that Bryson, Jon Rahm, and Cam Smith are staying committed to Live and will be declining the PGA Tour return. So three big names right there in DeChambeau, Rahm, and Smith saying, "No, we're good. We'll stay in Live."
Well, here's the big rub there, Cole. It's not like Brooks just said, "Oh, I want to come back," and PGA said, "Okay, you can come back."
Yeah.
There is a big financial penalty that Brooks alluded to. He said, quote, "I've got a lot of work to do with some of these players." He's talking about mending the relationship. He said there's guys who are happy and guys who will be angry. It's a harsh punishment financially. I understand exactly why the tour is doing that. It's meant to hurt, but it hurt a lot of people. So what financial penalty is he talking about? The returning members program includes forfeiting 5 years of player equity program benefits, which has the potential of being around $85 million in earnings, which is a lot of money. You get no 2026 FedEx Cup bonus pay, and you have to make a mandatory $5 million charitable donation.
Ooh.
So we're talking about a $5 million donation.
Oh.
So look, I am all for the PGA Tour taking their pound of flesh from these guys. It feels good to say, hey, you abandoned America and you went to go work for the Saudis. We're going to make you pay to get back into our tour. But Cole, on a professional stage, that feels a little egregious, don't you think?
Well, it's a lot. There's no doubt. But you know what? I don't know that you're going to find me saying it's too much. I just I don't know. I mean, Brooks Koepka, he got the money on Live, and that's, you know, everybody went to Live for the money, right? They went for the paycheck. Nobody cared if he won. That's the reality of it.
Sure.
Like with Bryson and Jon Rahm and Cam Smith, golf fans do not care if he wins. They don't care. Like,
right.
Great, you're on Live. You know, it's kind of like going to Topgolf. You look around and you got rich folks who are confused and bored. And I mean, you know, that's how they look on Live. They just, they're rich, but people just don't care. I don't know.
So Bryson and Cam and some of these others are choosing to stay. Remember, we had this yesterday. The PGA Tour announced that this is not an ongoing invitation to come back. This is it. You got this one chance, and if you don't come back now, well, we're going to figure out something else to probably charge you more money, and we'll probably let you back in the future. They hadn't talked about that, but no. So Brooks reportedly earned $165 million in his time with Live, which, hey, $165 million should soothe a lot of feelings of I'm bored. Nobody here seems to care. You know, and what we're doing over here ultimately doesn't matter,
right?
Compared to what playing on the PGA Tour and winning on the PGA Tour does.
Sure.
But Cole, that's what's fascinating about that. And I don't know how much FedEx Cup bonus pay equals, but if you go max with the player equity program benefits plus the $5 million charitable donation, that's potentially $90 million that Brooks could lose. That's roughly half of what Brooks Koepka earned playing with Live.
No, that's a lot of money.
If I have $165 million and you take half, I'm going to be mad about it, but ultimately my bank account is not going to feel it.
No, but it's still a lot of money, though. It's still going to be a lot of money a long time from now. It's interesting, man. Well, I think it's a huge story. We'll see what happens. But you know what? You said it. Sometimes the grass isn't always greener, and now you're going to have to pay to get back into this land, right?
And remember, we are 4 months away from the Masters.
Yeah, that's right. on Prime, by the way. New this year. I don't know how that's going to go.
That means we won't be able to watch it in the studio.
Well,
it's
on. I think it's still on CBS, but I think they're just on a new venture, new road down Prime. Diesel, which team in the NFL of the 8 is the easiest out? Something you brought up earlier in the show. We're going to dive back into it next.